It seems like you've shared a detailed narrative about a person named Kiangzi who exhibits sleepwalking and talking in his sleep, which has escalated to a point where it's causing concern for his roommate. Here's the translation of your story into English: sleepwalking and talking in one's sleep, with no memory of it the next day. I know a young man who works at a hotel in Shanghai. Since he hasn't been in isolation all the time, he and his colleague, Kiangzi, share a standard room. As it turns out, Kiangzi talks in his sleep every night. At first, the young man didn't take it to heart, but gradually, Kiangzi not only talks in his sleep but also moves physically, and then slowly it turned into sleepwalking. What's going on? The young man goes to bed late, usually around 1 in the morning, while Kiangzi falls asleep before 9. Not long ago, they bought a Huawei iPhone. One night after 11 o'clock, Kiangzi suddenly sat up in bed, pointed at the air and said to you, "I bought a new phone," then lay down and continued to sleep. The next day, you asked Kiangzi, but he had no memory of it. Well, isn't this sleepwalking? Kiangzi didn't take it seriously, and as a result, the situation became more and more serious. One night, Kiangzi fell asleep early. It was 11:42 p.m. The young man was lying on his side, scrolling through videos. Kiangzi suddenly sat up. As he got up and walked towards the curtains, the young man asked, "What are you doing?" Kiangzi replied, "I'm looking for something." The young man asked, "What are you looking for?" Kiangzi said, "Candy, it's okay, you go to sleep first, I'll find it myself." The young man asked him the next day, "Do you know what you did last night?" He didn't know. Well, isn't this sleepwalking? Although a bit scary, it's not terrifying. A few days later, around 11 p.m., Kiangzi suddenly sat up again. Then he turned over, bent down, and lay on the bed with one hand reaching to the floor between the two beds, as if looking for something. The young man watched him search for a long time and asked, "What do you want to do? What are you looking for?" This conversation really made the young man's scalp tingle at the time, but he forgot it the next day. Isn't this sleepwalking? Well, after a busy day, he went to bed at night, and this guy was used to it, looking at the time, 11 p.m., mentally prepared. Sure enough, unexpectedly, after a while, Kiangzi sat up again, pointed to the floor between the two beds, and said, "No need to hide, I found you again yesterday," then pointed to the air conditioner and said, "You come for a physical examination, lie down and continue to sleep." The young man just laughed, thinking to himself, "This person is really interesting when sleepwalking." Then the young man, not knowing what to think, stood up, turned on the flashlight on his phone, and bent down, holding the phone in one hand to illuminate the floor, and the other hand propped up on the floor, finding nothing. That guy couldn't get up no matter how hard he tried to prop himself up. Preparing to lie down, he suddenly felt that something was wrong just now, but couldn't say it, so he did the action just now again. The young man knew something was wrong because he was afraid of arguing at night. This young man always wears wireless earphones. The young man lay down his head, naturally very close to the floor under the bed. He found that the earphones had no sound. At this time, the current sound came. He tried several times back and forth, but there was no sound in bed. When he reached the floor between the two beds, the current sound came again. The puzzled young man suddenly had a bold idea. He got out of bed and walked around the room. Except for the floor between the two beds, there was no current sound everywhere. So he thought of the air conditioner that Kiangzi pointed to in his sleepwalking, moved a stool, and approached the air conditioner with earphones. As soon as the young man approached the air conditioner, the current sound came again in his earphones. At this time, the young man suddenly felt a chill on his back, quickly got on the bed to cover himself with the quilt, and couldn't sleep for a long time. It was not until after 3 in the morning that the young man was awakened by the urge to urinate. Although he couldn't speak, he still got up to go to the bathroom. Because he was still brushing his phone in the quilt from time to time, the earphones were not taken off. When the water sound in the bathroom was halfway, suddenly the current sound came several times in the earphones. Oh, no matter so much, the remaining half directly held back, opened the door, went to the security room and sat until dawn. The first thing the next day, the young man applied to the leader for a room change. Whether it was a coincidence or not, the young man dared not sleep with Qiangzi anymore. Babies, do you have friends around you who like to talk in their sleep or sleepwalk? If so, this matter really needs to be savored. See you in our next story.